Well, you know, the person who I'm most familiar with is the work of Adolf Loos. I've read his writings, I've seen his buildings. I think he was in many ways a precursor to the architects who would follow that had to bridge ideas between theory and context. So he's the most notable to me. Of course, I'm familiar with work that's been done here, not necessarily by Czech architects. I think, you know, Frank Gehry came and made a little bit of a splash with his Fred and Ginger. But the project, and I've not yet seen it in its location, that I would like to see is by the great Czech architect, John Hajduk, who did the monument to Jan Palach. And I have seen that not in its final location. I look forward to seeing that. Very powerful work. Well, I think if we put style aside for a moment, the introduction of new technologies has definitely altered the architecture of the world. In part, it's altered the way we live in the world. It's hard to uncouple architecture from other advances in this post-industrial world. The automobile, combined with architecture, has changed the way we build cities and towns. And I think going forward, of course, it's going to continue to do so. But I was struck by the fact that it was barely 100 years ago in the United States that a big oil well gushed in Texas and began the redefinition of the urban context that has yet to be played out. So that, combined with air conditioning and structural changes and so on, what did we have 100 years ago? A few, what now seem to be short buildings, and now we have buildings that, you know, approach to half a mile. So these are technical changes. I wish I could say that they were changes equally important in other areas, but those certainly are the most dramatic. You know, at this point, I have to say it's really where is the world heading, and architects are going to be part of the group that goes forward. I personally feel as though we have yet to respond to the changes in our global climate, certainly weather-wise, nature-wise, but I won't actually separate it from politically and economically wise as well. The climate is at a serious turning point. This may be true for every era, but since I've been through a couple of them, this one seems to be really big. Standing here in Prague, which has been a somewhat ready reference for me, because I'm involved with disaster planning as well as follow-up, and I'm familiar with the early installation of flood walls here to protect the old city. There's things that are going to impact our heritage, and there are things that are going to change our future. As people are aware, we're moving at such a rate of acceleration. Who thought 20 years ago we would have cell phones that modify everything we do? And 20 years from now, can we really predict at the rate of change we experience what the next, great critical structural change will be? But I must say, the world of architecture best be part of that prediction and best try to get into a position of leadership so the responsibilities we have are elevated, certainly beyond. They now not only include making a beautiful world, they include making a survivable world. So I think that's where we're going. I love Prague. Prague has become, it's my favorite city. It's maybe the girl you love, is the girl you're with. But it's not that I had great expectations or hopes, but whatever I did have been exceeded by the fact that once you put your feet on the ground here, there's no reason to stop moving through it and appreciating it. It's very nourishing, it's very rich, it's full of surprises, and I think I'm impressed with its ability to have maintained a character in the face of enormous global pressure.